Okay, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners as well and pay my respects, and also welcome everyone that's come from far and wide to be here. And yeah, my name's Reko Rennie. I'm an artist from Melbourne. I'm a Kamilaroi man, so that area is from northwestern New South Wales, Walgett, Brewarrina, around that area. So the work that you see on the wall, a lot of my work I like to do, public art, large installations at times. Other times it'll be neon, painting, it just depends on what I'm feeling. The diamond patterning that you see throughout the work is one of 4 male symbols of the Kamilaroi people. So there were 4 male symbols and 4 female symbols. The iconography, the type of artwork in the Kamilaroi was typically line work and based on these 4 images, male and female, so 8 in total. They were used traditionally in carving, tree carvings, which were called minga, dendroglyphs, an English word, and in sand engravings. They were also used on some painting of rock. So these 4 male and 4 female symbols were used to break up 4 sub-language groups of the Kamilaroi people, or Gomeroi, depending on the dialect. So I have permission through my family to use this diamond pattern. And a diamond pattern is a lot like, in a Western sense, a family crest. So I use that as a link to the past, to my community, to the land that I'm associated to in northwestern New South Wales. Just going back a little bit, I got into art through graffiti. So I grew up in the western suburbs of Melbourne. In the late 80s, I got into breakdancing and then got into graffiti, and that's how I come about being an artist. So the work here is, you've got some bright colours. I don't want to have that kind of ochred representation of work. My influences, when I was younger, it was all about using bright colours, a lot of pop influences, Herring and other contemporaries, Howard Arkley, of course. And so a lot of time there's this, I talk about it a lot, but there's this romanticised notion of, Aboriginality, what constitutes an authentic Aboriginal artist. And there's this misconception about, people thinking that it's just someone that's black, painting dots, illiterate, and walking around the desert, when that's not the case. We're a very diverse, cultured people. We're not a mono, singular culture. There's hundreds and hundreds of different language groups, diverse artistic practices, cultural practices, and so it's very important to remember that. And so I use a lot of bright colour, a lot of fluoro, I want this saturated representation, because that's it's about where I'm coming from. So the work behind me, it's quite a large work, and it's called Trust the 2%. So what I've done is, use an outlaw symbol. There's a graphic icon, the 1%ers. Some of the outlaw motorcycle clubs use it, and it's about 1%. There was a saying from the 1940s in America, where the American Motorcycle Association said that 99% of motorcyclists are good and 1% are ratbags, something like that. And then that was adopted by outlaw motorcycle groups, the 1%ers, identification. So what I've done is use the 2%, which is, we as Aboriginal people make up just over 2% of the population. And so here I'm using this iconography and exploring, making a comment about today in 2013, there's still this uneasy relationship between black and white Australia. There's still issues. Obviously an example, most recently is the issue of racism down in Melbourne about sport and, with Adam Goods. So here we have these, issues, many, many different issues that are still ongoing. There's an uneasy relationship still between black and white, and it shouldn't be the case. So unfortunately it is. So, that's a little bit about my work. I like to work large. You don't always get to see the diamond patterning, but it's a link to the past. It's the contemporary use of different mediums, whether it be spray paint, acrylic, neon, or moving image. That's part of my practice. My work comes from where I grew up in the western suburbs of Melbourne. I grew up in an urban environment, not a rural or regional environment. So my work is about where I grew up from the street. My experiences, my Aboriginality is that's expressed from that environment, from an urban environment. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I mean, I could probably rattle on all day, but I don't want to bore you guys.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. No, there's 4 male and 4 female. And they're designated, they break up north, south, east and west. Yeah. They're also used as a marriage system. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I've seen you do your work with spray tins. Is this the largest format you've worked on?
No, there's a building in Sydney, Taylor Square, and that was larger. It was about 3 stories high, and it was huge. So this has been done in acrylic paint. Spray paint we weren't allowed to use in here because of the people still transiting in. But yeah, look, I use spray paint at times. It just depends on where.
So it says just in the didactic, I just want to, if you want to talk about how this piece fits in with global discussions in the art world.
Well, look, this piece more or less talks about Aboriginal Australia, and our relationship here with non-Indigenous Australia. So it's talking about it's more of a local commentary and relating to how things aren't as good as they are, and they should be a lot better. We're in 2013, and we still have things occurring about racism and issues like that, and there's also, of course, huge inequality in terms of education, health, law and justice. I can go on. It's actually interesting being here in Brisbane because my grandmother and my father grew up not far from here actually, and it was about the 1950s that my grandmother had to tell her son that he's of Maori descent because it was more acceptable and he wouldn't be taken away from her as a parent. So it's not that long ago. You think about that. Some of you folk here, your generation, and just not that long ago. So I mean, things have changed a bit, but it's still a long way to go. So that's what this work is really about. It's just 2%. Yeah. No, it's 2%. 2%. Trust the 2%.
Any more questions? Well,
how is it physically put up there, installed?
It's installed, basically it's marked out with chalk line and just measured out line-wise. First it's done with a conceptual, done on the computer and get all the measurements right for the wall. Then the lighter colours are added first, so the pink, the green and the blue, because they won't cover the black, and then the black is added last because that then cleans it all up, and it's used, and there's some painter's tape just to get the straight edge. So, and that's a MDF that was all cut out and painted.
What will happen to it when the exhibition is finished?
That's a good question. Well, it goes. It's ephemeral, so sometimes that's the nature of some of the installations. It's here today, you get to see it, then it goes. It gets painted over. So yeah, it's a shame to see it go, but that's just part of. I suppose it flows on also from the street art kind of background as well. You put something up, you know, it'll be there for a day, months, whatever, and then could be gone tomorrow.
Questions? All right, well, that's all we have time for today. So please join me in thanking Reko for such a fantastic work and talk.
Thanks for coming.